This video is presented by Western and Southern Financial Group, a game plan for your financial future. Every great team starts with a strong foundation, and your future should too. With life insurance built like a championship roster, Western and Southern helps protect what matters most so you can focus on winning today while planning for tomorrow. Whether you're just starting out your journey, building your dynasty, or ready to retire like a champion, Western and Southern has the right play for your life stage. Visit westernsouthern.com to get your free life insurance quote today. Western and Southern, built to win. Two teams that I think as a whole underwhelmed, not just versus our expectations of what they maybe could have been, but just their own, right? I mean, I think that there have been really frustrating points through both of these teams. There have been ups and downs. There have been valleys and lulls that lasted longer than both of these teams wanted. But in the end, these teams faced off on Sunday Night Football, and it was very simple. You win the division. This is one of the most storied rivalries that we have in the National Football League, and it was an absolute barn burner into the fourth quarter. Pittsburgh wins, so congratulations to the Pittsburgh Steelers now getting to host a playoff game next week, and their top five graded players as the winners of this game. TJ Watt at the very top of the list with an 81.0 overall grade. Defensive tackle Cam Hayward with an 80.3. Offensive tackle Dylan Cook with a 79.1. Offensive guard Mason McCormick a 78.6. And then running back Jalen Warren with a 78.4. Aaron Rodgers, 69.5 for the whole game, but a lot better in that fourth quarter when he, like you said right before we hit record, it felt like turned back the clock to 2020, the way that he was throwing the football. On Baltimore's side of things, their top five graded players, cornerback Nate Wiggins at the top of the list with an 83.6. Wide receiver Zay Flowers, who was also one of the heroes of the fourth quarter, 81.7. Offensive tackle Roger Rosengarten with a 75.0. Running back Derrick Henry a 74.2. Edge rusher Draymond Jones a 71.9. And then Lamar Jackson this game, an elite score, a 91.6. Dalton, as we often do, give the people the stat that told the story here on this Steelers win.
Well, for the first three quarters, we got the game we pretty much thought we were getting exactly right. It was ugly. It was defensive. There was no DK Metcalf. It was Derrick Henry trying to carry the Ravens to a win. It was 13-10, right? An ugly defensive battle. And then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, these two quarterbacks decided to play like MVPs again. How about the Steelers and Ravens combining for 8 explosive passes in the fourth quarter of this game? Only 3 combined in the first 3 quarters. They just decided, you know what, to hell with the game plan, to hell with what everybody thinks is going to go on in this game. This is going to come down to the sheer willpower of Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers, and we ended up getting a duel for the ages, at least for the fourth quarter of this game. And the passing grades show that even for the two quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers, before the fourth quarter, had a 60 passing grade, basically very, very neutral, 76.6 in that fourth quarter. The big touchdown to Calvin Austin, several great throws to Pat Freiermuth, especially down the field as well. And then Lamar Jackson, just incredible. First 3 quarters, very quiet as the Ravens passing game has been for most of this year. 64.3 passing grade. Fourth quarter, how about a 94.6 passing grade in that last quarter. 2 touchdowns to Zay Flowers. We just got a great quarterback duel that decided to just bubble until the fourth quarter, and then these two teams just decided, you know what, the urgency of this moment, we have to put this game in our quarterback's hands. It ends up coming down to a missed field goal by Tyler Loop, but the two quarterbacks in the fourth quarter put on an absolute show.
You know, Aaron Rodgers, I know that we were talking before about it's like they turned back the clock. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers isn't quite the quarterback that he was when he was winning those back-to-back MVPs. What was it, in 2021, 2022. He's not still that type of quarterback, but it is kind of funny after years of watching the league try to hold on to some of these veterans that you realize they just don't have a lot left in the tank, right? Like Joe Flacco was one of them, Matt Ryan when he was with the Colts, Phillip Rivers, the first stint with the Colts and the second stint with the Colts. You sort of have this style of play from the position. Kirk Cousins is another one who we've seen recently, where these guys are playing so much with anticipation and wisdom between the ears, if you will. They don't have the arm or just the athletic ability that maybe they once did, but they've seen it all. As Tom Brady has said before, I have all the answers to the test. It's why I never snapped the football before I knew exactly what the defense was going to do. That's the way that Aaron Rodgers is playing. And I even think that it's fourth quarters like the one that we saw last night where I go, why are they holding him back? Like, I understand that they don't necessarily have the wide receiver. Not having DK Metcalf's obviously a big deal as well, but when Aaron Rodgers goes out and plays that fourth quarter the way he does, I kind of say to myself, where was this the other 17 weeks? Because we saw it, but just very seldom. And maybe that is part of Aaron Rodgers collaborating with Arthur Smith, their offensive coordinator, to say, hey, this is kind of how I'm comfortable and want to run the offense. So maybe he has a hand in it as well. But I remember going back all the way to week 1, where the Steelers played the Jets. And that was a game where the Steelers obviously won that game. But we looked at it, and I think that was one of the games where we got some pushback from Steelers fans, if I remember correctly, who were upset or just curious, I should say, about Aaron Rodgers' passing grade. And it wasn't super high, despite the fact that his box score numbers were really good, and they came back and won that game. And I remember us having this conversation about it, that Rodgers, he didn't have to complete a lot of difficult passes. But anytime you messed up, even the slightest, he saw it, and he was there. The ball was out of his hands. It was going exactly where it needed to. There were a couple of, especially in the second half of that game, some busted coverage by the Jets. And the second that they had a coverage bust, Aaron Rodgers threw the ball right to that player. And the reason why I bring that up is because last night, right, the fourth quarter, the throw to Calvin Austin. Well, Chidobe Awuzie falls on that route, on that play. But I still can give Aaron Rodgers a little bit of credit because he looked that way exactly when he needed to. And that ball came out exactly when it needed to hit Calvin Austin to score that touchdown. And it just goes into, just because he's not throwing for all the big-time throws that he used to, doesn't mean that you can't still appreciate some of what Aaron Rodgers is doing. The reason why I brought up a lot of those veterans of Matt Ryan and Kirk Cousins and Joe Flacco is because they are this version of this veteran quarterback. Outside of Tom Brady, because I don't think Tom Brady is a realistic comparison with what he did with the Buccaneers in his twilight years. Aaron Rodgers is essentially like the best version of what those veteran, that like this phase of a veteran quarterback is. Aaron Rodgers is the best version of that right now. And to be honest, it is fun to watch when it goes well.
No, certainly. It's pinpoint. It's about manufacturing offense. And it's the reason that they brought him in is because last year the offense with Russell Wilson, and Wilson did produce at a fine level, but it was too hit or miss. It was home run or strikeout. It was just the deep balls to George Pickens. They wanted a different style of quarterback, even if the box score numbers didn't look all that different from Wilson or maybe even a little bit less. They needed a guy who knew how to get first downs. I think there's really 3 numbers that speak to what you're saying. Rodgers, lowest average depth of target of any starter in football this year. The 3rd lowest average time to throw in football this year, and the 8th lowest turnover-worthy play rate. They need somebody to manage the game at an elite level, and with Rodgers' knowledge of defenses and his vision, like you mentioned, his field vision is among the greatest quarterbacks of all time. That's really what got them through this, and then when he's in a clean pocket, there is still just enough arm to go out there and make plays like he did last night. So credit to him a lot, and you know what, you mentioned it. I think Aaron Rodgers, the entire point of what you're saying, too, about why wasn't this there all year, because honestly, he's not at a stage in his career where he can do that for 17 games and carry you like that for 17 games. Now, he got him to 10-7. He got him to a division title and into the postseason, but this is what you want from Rodgers. You want him to manage the game well, and you want him to come through in big moments. He did that really in both of these games against Baltimore, and that was the difference in their season.
I mean, now seeing what he did in the fourth quarter, maybe you're right. Maybe it was a little bit of like, hey, because, again, Brady has talked about this recently. He jokingly was on a podcast, and he's like, I could go out and play right now. He's like, but I couldn't do a full season.
Phillip Rivers, same thing. He's not going to play all 17 games.
I couldn't do it for a full season. He's like, I couldn't do it for a full off season, a full season, which I think he's lying. But he was basically saying, like, I don't want to do it for a full season. It might have just been a little bit of self-preservation for the Steelers offense and for Rodgers to get to that point. But now that they're in the dance, seeing what we saw in the fourth quarter, you go, okay, he's got some left in the tank. He's feeling about as fresh as you can feel for a 40-year-old quarterback who's now making it into the postseason. So that brings up sort of what Mahal was talking about in the chat, where he's saying that Steelers have a shot at upsetting the Texans because that's the matchup that they have in the playoffs. the reason why I'm very wary on that is you look at the Steelers' second half coverage specifically. They were all those coverage busts, 175 passing yards and a 29.4 coverage grade in the fourth quarter alone. Right now, a lot of those are coverage busts, so you're hoping that those things don't repeat. But the Steelers' defense has been really up and down in their secondary and at the second level throughout the season. And when you look at now that Steelers offense going up against the best defense in the NFL in Houston, I'm not going to be taking the Steelers to upset the Houston Texans. I just don't love that matchup for them there. I think that there's just too much team speed for the Texans for them to be able to have to deal with it. But that's a little bit of my thoughts before we get to that.
If they were going to do it, and again, you've got a world of difference between the two pass rushers between Baltimore and Houston. They would need their offensive line to play the way that it did in this game. And you've got a backup at left tackle in Dylan Cook. You've got Isaac Seumalo, who had a great game. Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick are two keepers on the inside. Troy Fautano's been good lately at right tackle. You look at this offensive line, 77.8 PFF grade, 85 pass blocking grade. Both of those, they're third best of the season out of the 17 games. The offensive line only charged with 6 pressures and 1 sack all night. The big thing with Aaron Rodgers now, with the lack of mobility that he has, is you just have to keep him clean. If they're able to somehow do that, and part of it is going to be him having to protect himself, if he's able to be protected somewhat against Houston, I do think they stand a chance. So I'll be honest with you, I haven't decided who I will pick to win. There's only one of the 6.
Ooh.
There's only one of the 6 games that I know right now who I'm going to pick.
Well, don't spoil it, because we need people to continue to watch.
But I will tell you, this is not the one. I do think at home, and keep in mind also, we talk about Houston's pass rush. TJ Watt and the Steelers' pass rush against that Houston offensive line and CJ Stroud, that's also going to be a problem. I'll tell you what, I am expecting a low-scoring game.
Yes.
In that one, for sure, in Pittsburgh. I do think they have at least a chance to win. I have not decided who I'll pick yet in that one.
Okay, all right.
Everyone's got takes. Numbers have truth. And the truth is, most people are betting with emotion. Sportsbooks feed on it. TikTok-rus sell it. The hype machine runs on it. That's how you lose. PFF is different. You're betting with winning data. The same data trusted by all 32 NFL teams and the sharpest minds in the game. PFF betting tools take every prop, every matchup, every angle, and run them through our custom models. Built on the best football data in the world. What comes back is your edge. Simple, sharp, and built to win. Want to go deeper? PFF puts a pro-level analytics department in your hands, giving you the same insights teams use to find every advantage. Build your game plan with matchup analysis. Project every snap, every matchup, and every edge before kickoff. Because the smartest plays start long before Sunday. Hit rates show how a player performs against their prop and against defenses built the same way. It's the data that gives you real confidence in every pick. Next, Key Insights translates PFF data into the story behind every matchup, giving you the why that powers your bets. From coverage schemes to defensive looks, it's the context that turns raw numbers into winning decisions. When you're ready to take action, filter through every prop on the market and focus on the opportunities that matter, by game, matchup, or value. Then, shop for the best available line in your area and tap your book of choice to place the bet instantly. Everyone's got takes, but now you've got truth. Bet with data, win with PFF.